What's up, Cakers? Ruben Tech back here today with another 101 tutorial for you. This is going to be on covered calls. Last video I did the buy side of the call option for a 101 tutorial. I will link to that down below, perhaps in this video if I can figure it out. But I don't want to waste any of your time, so let's go ahead and get started. Absolute beginner's guide to covered calls. I always like to start with an analogy. Let's use the one we used in the prior video and turn it around. Imagine you're interested in buying a new car. You find the perfect model, but the dealer is asking a price that you're not willing to pay at this moment. Instead of buying it immediately, you can negotiate with the dealer to lock in the price for a certain amount of time. This gives you the option to buy the car at the price, but not the obligation, even if the price goes up in the meantime. So in this scenario, the car represents the underlying asset, in our case a stock. The agreed upon price is the strike price, and the time period during which you have the option to buy is the expiration date. Now, if you're going to do this, the dealer needs to have a reason to do this, right? And they're going to charge you to make this contract. The cost of locking in this price is what's known as the option premium, okay? And in this call, last time we discussed being the buyer, that's buying the call option. But this time we're going to talk about you being the dealer, and that is selling the call option. And when you sell a call option, if you have the shares, remember that all options are dealt with. Each contract represents 100 shares. So if you have 100 shares of the call option that you want to sell, then it's called a covered call. If you do not have the shares, it's called a naked call. That is something else. It's highly risky, and we won't be discussing it here. Okay, guys, now I always like to do some terminology. We're not going to cover all of these because I don't think they're all relevant, but we'll do what I think is necessary for a 101. Now, right off the bat, I do want to interrupt myself. I'm going to tell you something in here that might be controversial. Yes, I'm sorry to say that, but I'm not a fiduciary. This is for entertainment purposes. Always do your own research, especially on what I'm about to say. I do personally believe that a covered call can technically never lose money. That is the covered call itself. Okay? Now, I'm going to explain this further, and I want to tell you before we go through this stuff so that when I explain it further, you know the terminology I'm going to use. And this is, I think this would be highly debatable, but I will make my case later. Keep that in mind. So first of all, covered call. Here's the formal definition. An option strategy where an investor sells or writes call options on a stock they already own. In our case, this would be the car dealer owns the car. This strategy is covered because the investor has the underlying shares, 100 of them for each contract, to deliver if the option buyer decides to exercise their right to buy the stock. So remember, when you do a call option, which is our next definition, that's a contract that gives the buyer the right, but not the obligation, to buy 100 shares of a specific stock at a predetermined price, the strike price, on or before a certain date, the expiration date. Okay. The strike price is the set price at which the call option buyer can purchase the underlying stock if they choose to exercise the option. We, of course, as the call option seller selling this covered call, would agree to this. The expiration date is the last day the call option can be exercised. And the premium is the price the option buyer pays to us, the option seller, who sells the covered call, for the right to buy the stock. This is the only income, I should say only income received by the covered call seller. Okay, the underlying asset security, in our case, is a stock. Long and short position, this just talks about how you would view a covered call from the different positions you're in, so you don't have to worry about that as a beginner. If you want to later, come back to that. That's okay. And the money just says that when the current stock price is above the strike price of the call option, it's called in the money. It's out of the money when the current strike price is below the strike price of the call option. At the money is when the current stock price is equal to the strike price of the call option. Assignment. When a call option buyer exercises the right to buy the stock at the strike price, the option seller is assigned and must sell their shares at that price. Now, this is very important. If you own a stock and you do not want to sell it, do not sell covered calls. Okay? You might get assigned. You don't always get assigned, but you might get assigned. And if you get assigned, you have to sell your shares. You have to. That's what the entire thing is based on. So do not sell a covered call on things that you are not willing to part with, because there is a chance you will get assigned. Intrinsic value is the difference between the current stock price and the strike price of an in-the-money option. So this is part of the value of a option contract, a covered call. And time value, the portion of an options premium that reflects the amount of time remaining until expiration. Your break-even point is the stock price at which the covered call strategy either makes nor loses money. Okay, this is calculated as strike price minus the premium received. And then I think that's good enough for now. Here, guys, we have a real-world example with Meta stock. I snapped this off of Robinhood just a few minutes ago. I don't want the prices changing because in a live market, that's what they do. Highlighted down here on the right, you can see I have a check mark, is the $570 strike price. You'll remember from our discussion already that this means this is the price that you, as the seller of the covered call, are willing to pay, willing to sell at, and that the buyer has agreed upon, the strike price. We can see here the shares of Meta are already at $575.27. So this would be considered an in-the-money call. That is, you're selling a covered call that's already in the money. And it's in the money, $575.27 minus $570, $5.27. Now the other big key term is the expiration date because that gives us our time value. The 527 is the intrinsic value. The expiration date is in 2 days, October 18th, right? So over here we have our premium $850. If I minus the intrinsic value off of that, I have $3.23 left. That is my time value. Okay, so time value plus intrinsic value equals the premium, option premium. Okay, this option premium is what we would collect, $8.50 for each stock that we sell in this. Every contract has 100 stocks, so we would collect $850. Now, a little aside here, we'd actually probably collect a little bit more because Meta is a heavily traded stock. The option market is very robust. You can see over here to the right by my mouse that the limit price is $850 for the bid. That's what the buyers of the call option are bidding at. But the ask side is $875, so it usually gets met in the middle. So typically we would actually get $8.63, $863. Okay. Now our break even is at $578.63. So this over here, you can see this is made by taking the strike price and adding the option premium. So already this market maker is figuring that the break even that we are going to get $863 for the option premium. To keep it simple though, I'm going to use $850. So let's just say the break even would be $578.50. Okay. Our chance of profit is 59.57%. This is related to the delta on this. It's not 100% correlated, but it's related to the delta on this contract. Okay. And then the last important thing to know is that when we do this on this stock, okay, that we are agreeing to sell 100 shares of this at $570, right? So when we look at our profit and loss on this stock, we have to keep that in mind, okay? And this is where I said, technically, if you set up things right, you can't lose on this. And I want to explain that. Over here, you can see that our expected profit and loss is $323.01. This is based on the fact that this is the time value. It already has $5.27 of intrinsic value, which means that the stock right now is $575. If we just sold the 100 shares, we would make 100 times 575.27. But if we sell this contract and a person turns around and exercises it right away, I've never had that happen. I've only had it exercise on the expiration date, but they could. Okay, and we got a sign. We would have to sell our stock at $570. So we would be taking a $5.27 loss on our stock. But remember, we have the time value, and the time value is $3.23. Now you will note that the break even because of that is always above the strike price, which is why I'm saying you technically cannot lose on a covered call. Because look what happens if the stock price goes over to the left, right? If it goes lower at 570, you collect your whole premium, $850, and don't have to worry about anything. Or sorry, below 570, so 569.99, you get 100% of your premium. But if the Meta's price is 569.99 and your strike price is at 570, no one's going to execute that contract. They're obviously not going to do it if it's 560, because then they'd be just giving you $10 a share, right? So you keep your entire profit here, $850. But you might say, well, what about this over here? This is red. Well, this is red, but this is lost opportunity, right? It's not actual money that you would have, okay? Because think of it this way. What if Facebook from here went up to $600, right? Our strike price is 570, right? So the person is absolutely going to execute that call, okay? And you're going to say, boy, I just lost out on, $30 and I sold this for $850. I'm at a loss of $21.50. But that's not technically true, okay? Because when you sold this contract, the price was $575.27. And so the way I look at it is when I'm selling this contract, I'm looking at it as I'm selling my shares. I am okay right here. I want to sell my shares and I'm selling them at the break-even price. Okay? So this to me, the reason I say you cannot lose is it's like looking at something that you sold and then 2 days later saying it goes up and thinking you lost. And I know a lot of us do that. I do that. Okay? But I don't think that's the proper way to think as an investor. If I have a covered call, okay, and again, I'm not a fiduciary. So, I don't want you making decisions off of this. I'm just making my argument. You can write down below what you think. But when I make a covered call, I say, okay, at least I pretend, in my mind, I'm selling this 570. I am selling Facebook at 578.63. It's only worth 575.27. So I have made $3.36 on each share. Okay? I've already made it. I've sold it. I'm done. I'm out. Now, I know it's possible for me to keep more of my premium. I know that. Okay, but in my head, I try to say, nope, I'm out, and I assumed I'm going to get signed. Okay? And so if I get assigned, if it goes to 600, it doesn't matter to me. And I say this, it does sting inside, but logically, this is how I reason it. Because I already sold those shares, it would be the same as if I sold them at 578.63. Okay? And since they were only worth 575 when I made that decision, and I sold them for 578, I made a profit. Now, what I lost out is on the opportunity to make more profit, okay, by hanging on to my shares. So just like if I literally sold them at 575, right? Like I actually sold them. I don't sell a covered call. I actually sell them. And then it goes up to 600 in a couple days, right? I lost the opportunity if I had held on to it. That's what I'm losing. But I'm not actually losing anything. My balance doesn't go down lower because of this, okay? And I hope that makes sense. So that is my introduction to covered calls. And really importantly, the most important thing, if you are the kind of person where if it goes to 600 and you truly feel like you are taking a loss, I can tell you that pain is absolutely real if you have that mindset, and you probably should not be selling covered calls. Okay? I can tell you that. In the beginning, that's how I was. I would have a lot of pain. In fact, I still do. I hate getting assigned on things like Meta. Don't sell covered calls on things you are not willing to sell. Okay? If you have a company that you absolutely adore, don't sell covered calls on it. unless you're willing to sell and unless you have this type of mindset, right? Unless you can say to yourself, hey, I collected this premium, I made a profit, I'm not worried about this opportunity loss. Because yeah, a few times you might not get a sign and you're collecting premium, but then the time you get a sign, it's going to hurt, okay? If you have that mindset. Trust me, I know. Okay, so that is my options 101. I hope you like that. This is all for entertainment purposes. Always do your own research. I hope that you are learning along with me. Have a great day.